Excellent.
Except now that it's recording. That voice recording in progress always makes me so nervous.
I know it makes it feel very official, like everything's on the record.
It does, it does. You can see people coming into the chat window. I don't know if you can get your chat window up in Zoom there,
Oh,
but
yeah, let me see.
yeah.
Uh,
Welcome everybody. Everyone's slowly coming into the room. Very happy to have you all here with us today with Christian White. A tradition with Ben's Book Club. Welcome to Ben's Book Club. The tradition is when you enter the club, if you don't mind writing in, yeah, see, Gemma knows
oh,
what's up. Go into
wow.
the chat and just type where you're from because we're a really small little community here, but we're spread out across the whole globe. So it's really fun to see where everyone's from. Oh, I have whiplash. She came into the chat window too quick. Sorry, Gemma. We'll work on that. Got people from Adelaide, Melbourne.
Oh, wow, look all over the place.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, huh?
Very, very cool.
Yeah. Toowoomba. Oh, that's so cool.
Oh,
I
I've
love
got Bellarine Peninsula, not far from where Christian lives. Yeah. Oh, this
Oh,
is great.
oh, Jenny from the Gold Coast. Hi, Jenny.
Love it.
Hobart. You said you were going to Tasmania soon, mate. Is that right?
I'm going to be in Hobart doing a bit of a Tassie tour in a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
So
awesome.
yeah, come. I'm doing something in Hobart. If I was a more professional author, I would have all that information here and I'd be able to tell you. But I have no idea. My publicist sends me at the start of each week.
Yeah.
It's an email titled, "This is what you have to do this week," and that's my focus.
Be at this airport at this time. Say these words.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Sunny Coast, oh awesome. I was just
Oh,
at the Sunny
brilliant.
Coast for a writers festival there, which was really lovely.
Oh, nice.
At Mullaney, it was lovely. Byron Bay, oh awesome. Hi Dizzy. Chris from Newcastle,
Brilliant.
Hope Island.
Look you all.
Yeah. All these lovely people. I wish we could see you all. Hey, we need to do that somehow where we have all your faces in a big wall
Yeah, a big
with you
grid.
wave. It would be lovely to actually see
Yeah.
what you all look like. Although,
And headshots as well.
do you want to, let's see how this goes.
We'll see how
Yeah,
it
see,
goes.
Gemma's onto it. How many of you can just raise your hand in the chat if you're currently wearing pajamas? So you can see there's a few. Read up. Can you read all the participants? If you have the participants, sorry, the reason I'm laughing is that everyone on my window has their hand up now.
I've only got
It's nice to go to a book club in your pajamas, huh?
Hmm. Actually, I should have asked you, Ben, before we let everyone in, but should I put on pants for this? I'm okay. Just no
Yeah, you're
pants.
fine, mate. You
Yep.
find a Winnie the Pooh it, mate. Go for it.
No, I promise
Huh.
you, I actually have. I made sure I got changed out of my pajamas just in case there was some sort of emergency where I had to get up in front of everyone. And so
Yeah,
now they'll think I'm, yeah, always in jean.
we appreciate it.
Hmm.
Tegan, I hope you got your full workout in there, Tegan. I mean, we appreciate it. Actually, you know what? You made the right choice to be here tonight with us and Christian.
Yeah, good work, Tegan.
Yeah, good work, Tegan. Getting it
Oh,
done.
Hobart's.
Um, let's introduce Christian to our audience here. To sum up, Christian White is an incredibly difficult task, and I'm going to try to just hit. I mean, even hitting the highlights is a long task, but his debut novel, The Nowhere Child, won the 2017 Wheeler Centre Victorian Premier's Literary Award for the best unpublished manuscript. And then it was published, and it was a massive hit. Wife and the Widow was the next one, 2020 winner of the Ned Kelly Award for Best Crime Fiction. So it's Australia-wide the best crime fiction novel of that year. So a huge accomplishment. Christian also co-created the television series Clickbait, which went straight to number one on Netflix in 41 different countries, which is amazing. He's got another thing, I think, out now, Apartment 7A. Was that out now? Or was that coming up?
Yeah, yeah. Apartment 7A. It's a horror film on you can watch on Binge.
Yep. So there you go. Another thing on Binge. Ordered an audio novella for Audible, and two more with his wife, Summer DeRoche. And now this is
Jody,
for,
sorry to interrupt, but Jody, Jody, can you be my PA? She just said you are going to be in Hobart Monday, 4th of November. Thank you very much. Thanks, Jody. This is something I should know.
look, you've got a new employee. Joe, I
Yeah,
don't know how
good
much
job.
Christian pays, Jody, so you might need to keep him to task for that, but got new employment. We're here today to talk about this book, which has been blowing up in the shadow when I do that. It's been blowing up the Facebook, Ben's Book Club Facebook group. Everyone's really, really loved this book. Yeah, I can't wait to chat with you about it in the guise of a book club. But before we begin, chat members, if you're new here, this is the first time we're ever doing this. If you are a regular, this is the first time we're ever doing it. I don't know why I had to change. First time we're ever doing this, but this novel is a signed copy, which I can show you here as proof. Here we go, is Christian's signature. So the aim with this, we're going to start to do this a bit more regularly. We're going to give away books. And so what we do with Ben's Book Club, we really encourage asking Christian questions. And we're going to go back with the chat, but this is an opportunity for everyone to ask him really deep, meaningful questions. At the end of the night, Christian's going to choose his favorite question from the night, and we're going to actually mail this to the lucky winner. So we have a copy of the ledge, a signed copy of the ledge to give away tonight for the best question. So you got to put your thinking caps on. And the last thing, sorry. Yeah, no pressure yet. The last thing, sorry, we are going to start the actual conversation soon. The last thing, we have to put a big spoiler banner around this whole chat. So no spoilers in the chat until we get to the spoiler territory. Because I think this book is a great opportunity. Christian, you were talking about, it's awesome to be able to actually have the opportunity to talk about the whole book, right?
It never ever happens. You know, you go to events and all of my books, but this one in particular, I have to be so vague when I talk about it. And in fact, I think I've lied to a couple of people. I've just flat out lied and hope they forgive me. So I cannot wait to get into the spoiler section because I've never talked about this book in a setting like this where I can talk about spoilers. So I'm excited about that.
Oh, awesome. So we'll put a big banner around it when we get up to that. So just be warned, we are going to dive into it because I think this book, for a full discussion of this book, we really have to get into that. So let's begin. This is an odd question to start with, Christian, but I was just eating my dinner and I thought to ask you this question. Every writer, I think, has a philosophy or an ethos or something that's driving them to the page, something that they really believe in about the power of stories. If you have, or do you have a writing philosophy? And if you have it, could you sum it up in one word?
One word is tough. I could do it in one sentence.
Go one sentence. I feel like that's fair.
Because I've got this question very. I was signing my contract for the Nowhere Child. I was with, 37-year-old baby with sweat stains, really nervous and excited. And I got asked in that, and it was amazing. And I was signing, and I got asked that question. They said, "What's your writing philosophy?" And I didn't have a good answer. I fumbled through an answer. And then on the way home, I thought about it, and I came up with it. And it is as follows. I only write things that I would want to read myself. That's it. It's super, super simple. So I think that, if I'm a normal audience, then hopefully I will find an audience. That's really it in a nutshell.
Yeah, I love that. And I feel that with what you do as well. Like, yeah, knowing you, your personality does suit this type of books that you write. It doesn't feel far removed from you. So that's really lovely. To answer your question, Ian, I believe, yes, we will be sending the books internationally, although we'll see how much it costs. No, we will be sending it books internationally. We have a question in the chat from Christchurch St. Ives. This is a question. How much of the book was actually autobiographical? Because you do have characters in the novel who are writers and writing, multiple characters who really care about it, and especially their relationship with Stephen King. Nigel, thanks, Nigel.
Nigel, yeah, brilliant. He's happy to pay postage. That's good.
Thanks, Ian.
Ian is.
I'm only kidding, mate. I will send it to you. Don't worry.
To answer Nigel's wonderful question, a lot of it was autobiographical, sort of by accident. It ended up being a book about a weird teenager, which I was, and a 43-year-old thriller writer, which I am. So I really, I dug deep on this one. I really dug. I just went down deep in that well of imagination.
Yeah.
Part of that was kind of accidental. So when I was planning it, I just really had this really one simple thing in mind. On a little post-it, I had written a coming of age thriller. That's what I
Hmm.
wanted to do. I wanted to do a coming of age thriller, which I knew would be a love letter to Stephen King. Stephen King's It, Stand by Me, movies like The Goonies and Monster Squad and Lord of the Flies. That amazing book. Um, so that's sort of why I wanted to do a coming of age thing. So the teenage thing had to happen, and then I said it in the '90s because that's when I was a teenager, and I really didn't imagine it would be as autobiographical as it is. There's certain things I haven't done, which we'll talk about in spoilers.
Hmm.
I'm a very normal person generally. What always happens is as you get in the weeds of your writing, you start to plug more and more of yourself into those characters. So
Yeah.
really it started with these teenage boys in the '90s. There's four kids, one of them goes missing, and the other three have to figure out, where their buddy went. And the more of myself just naturally, the more of myself I put into it, the more I don't know, kind of emotionally cathartic the experience was. And then I started to think, I thought a lot about my friends. So I was a weird, nerdy, bookish, kind of arty kid. An outcast is a very nice way to put it. So I found this other group of outcasts, very like-minded kids, which were really small group, but so tight and so sort of essential to me surviving puberty. They were everything.
Yeah.
I think if you're lucky enough to have had a group of friends like that, it's the best. So I was thinking a lot about them, and then I suddenly thought, oh God, it's so depressing that I don't see them anymore. I have no contact with them. And a couple of years ago I went off social media. So now I can't even stalk them online. I have no idea what they're doing. And and that was just we didn't have a falling out or anything. It's just life. But
Yeah, for sure.
I was thinking more and more about that. And then I started to think about you know, where the kids, where I ended up as an adult, where my friends ended as adults, and where the kids in my story, where they might end up. And then as soon as I started thinking about that, I sat down and wrote what was the first chapter in the book, because the book alternates between the past and the present. I made the present protagonist, I made him a writer for the dumbest reason. It's really hard. You'll know this, Ben, but it's so hard to come up with good professions for your characters. You want
Yeah.
it to be believable, but not
Yep.
too boring, not too exciting. And I knew I wanted him to go back to his hometown because human remains were going to be found in his hometown. I knew I wanted to do that. And I thought, I really don't want to have to write a scene where he's got to call his boss and get some time off. Like, oh, Tim,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm so sorry, I've got to go. It's such a boring scene. And I thought if human remains were found in my life, I'm a busy writer, but I also have pretty, plenty of free time. If human remains that were found and I had to go back into my hometown to investigate, I could just do it. I don't need to call anyone. I've just got to. So that's all the whole reason I thought, okay, I'll make him a writer. And then of course, the same thing happened to the teenagers that I was writing, that I just put more and more of myself into that writer. I gave him a daughter. I have a daughter. He's divorced. Thankfully, I'm still with my wife, but sometimes I think it's only a matter of time, before she comes to her senses. Uh,
Mm.
and then there were things where, I remember I wrote an event. I wrote him going to a bookshop and the questions, and it was just so fun and weirdly cathartic, because you don't. I'm sure you know this, Ben, that you don't it's a great job. Writing is a wonderful
Yeah.
job, but unless you're talking to other authors, it's hard to talk about what you do. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it falls down pretty quick because it's such a specific, especially publicity. It's such a specific thing.
Yeah.
Like this wonderful event tonight. It's amazing, and there's all these people, and it's brilliant. And then I'll sneak out and I'll say goodnight to my daughter, and I'll watch an episode of Survivor. You know what I mean? It's this weird those
Yeah.
those those weird ups and downs.
There's a
Uh,
balance. Yeah.
yeah, but Yeah, I mean, I've been talking so long that I can't remember what the question was, but hopefully I answered it. It was Nigel's question. I remember that.
Then Nigel's question was how much of it was autobiographical. You're on point that whole answer, mate. You nailed it.
Brilliant. I wasn't fishing, but thank you. Maybe we can pause periodically. You just say nice thing, good things that I'm doing.
I'm happy. I'm happy to take that role. Maybe Jody wants another part to her job as well.
Yeah.
Trisha, appreciate that. Yes, I would definitely recommend if we talk about spoilers that you do leave. I think one of the major joys of this book is I love the whole book up until that, but then when that dropped, it was like, whoa, damn, it took it to this other level. We've got some great questions. I just want to ask you one really quick one. What are some of your, because when I got my reader copy of this, on the front it had the Master of Misdirection. And I thought, you're not going to get me this time because you got me so many other times. You're not going to get me. And then you got me again. And I
Whew.
thought, yeah, you smashed me down. And yep, I had to finish the book even though it was late at night. But what are some of your favorite books or shows or movies or things like that that have had that kind of big twist? Like we might get into spoilers for other older films and books here, but something like The Sixth Sense, where that drop happens.
Sixth
What are
Sense
some of
was,
your favorites?
yeah, the Sixth Sense. I mean, M. Night Shyamalan does his early work did twists so well. And and you can't really talk about twists without talking about the Sixth Sense. Spoilers for the Sixth Sense. If you haven't watched the Sixth Sense, then you know, okay, yeah, it's sort of enough time has passed, right? Anyway,
Yeah.
Bruce Willis is a ghost the whole time, and that was such a good twist because I I don't like twists that come so far out of left field that it feels like a bit of a cheat. If
Yeah.
someone holds something back from the reader or from the viewer or whatever, that was so integral that you couldn't possibly have guessed it, then I
Mm.
don't like it. You know what that's like? It's like, those old logical questions, which is, one of them was a man dies in a field. How did he get there? And there's an answer, but unless you can read the other person's mind, you
Yeah.
can't guess that answer. It's a
Can't
cheat.
figure it out. Yeah.
Whereas with the Bruce Willis twist and with every twist I do, I try to be completely honest the entire time. And you can go back and read it, and I've not lied to you. I promise you, I took great care to do that. And all the clues are there. And I think that I'll restrain myself because there's some other great twists in things that I won't tell you because they're a bit more recent, and I don't want to spoil other stuff. But basically the twists that kind of make you feel shocked, but also a little angry and stupid. Like, why didn't I
Yeah.
get that? They're the best. They're the best for me. And I'm really interested in kind of what I call format twists. I don't know if that's a good
Yes.
word or not,
You
but
do. Yeah.
I really like a good twist within the story, of course, and everything needs to have that. But I like a twist that more and more as I write, I'm really thinking more and more about giving the reader just considering how much the reader does. So when you watch a show or a film, it's quite a passive form of entertainment. It's everything's sort of done for you, and it's delivered to your eyeballs, right?
Yeah.
But when you read, it's a much more active experience. You'll say, this guy has a mustache, and the reader will fill in every other detail. And so much of what I do is I'll write 4 sentences and I'll cut out 2 of them. I just like giving more and more and more to the reader
Yeah.
because readers are such, especially in genre, unless it's the first thriller they've ever picked up, they would have read many, many before. And I like kind of leaning into that and
Yeah.
playing with their assumptions and just kind of
Yeah.
pushing that hey, I never said this. I never said I didn't no, I never didn't say it, but I never said this. And so I like kind of making the reader complicit in.
Yeah.
I really more and more I love that kind of like Ian said, someone just said, so you like mess with our heads. Yeah, exactly, Gemma. That's exactly what it is. But I like making you complicit in it as well. So it's sort of
Yeah. Yeah, that is a funny thing. You kind of make us feel like we cheated ourselves, like we tricked ourselves, because we're reading your words, but it's in our voice. And you do this
Yeah.
thing, and you've done it multiple times to me where you put two things next to each other, and my brain is like, aha, these things are related this way. And you're like, I never said that they were, and then
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
do that rug pull at the end.
Which is
Um,
so good because we might talk about more about this in the spoiler section, but it it often requires one or two or three really small, subtle misdirections. And it's a part of the book that when you first read it, you don't think about it, but it's a part of the book that I labor over. It might be three lines that I spend a day getting just right. You know what I mean? So
yes.
I really enjoy that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I enjoy reading it, mate. So I
Mm.
appreciate you taking the time. Um, we've got a couple more questions before we head into spoilers. We have Gordana here who has asked, how is the experience of writing this book different from the other books that you've written? Is there anything markedly different about how you set out with this one?
I think slowly but surely I'm putting more of myself, into my books. The first two books were female protagonists. Of course, I put myself into it, but there's only so much of myself I can put into those. And then Wild Place, I put a little bit more of myself in. The major difference with this one was it is by far the most personal book I've written, just because of just as about boys and men, and not even the fact that it's about a writer and a weird teenager, that of course as well, but there's just so much it's this weird thing that happens where you don't necessarily know what you're these so smarter authors than me will sit down before they write a book and they'll think thematically and they'll think these are the themes I want to explore. This is what I want to say. This is the message I want, and that's just not how I work. I just think about the character and then the story, and I kind of nut it out, and I let all that other stuff
Hmm.
take care of itself. And then as you have a body of work, you look back on it and you see these recurring themes and things you're interested about. And what sets this book apart is there's themes that run through all my books. This kind of idea of how well do you know the people you love,
Yes. That's,
secrets, secrets that kind of snowball, things that if you knew would change your perception of a person. Or that's obviously a fear or a thing I've got, but this was the first book I wrote that I realized afterwards was about loyalty, and I didn't realize I was kind of into this idea of loyalty until I wrote this book. It's not loyalty; it's sort of loyalty is this great thing, but there's this line, right, when loyalty comes up against your morality, and
mm,
and you've got to it's that kind of pushing and pulling, and it's sort of how when is how much of yourself should you compromise to be loyal to a friend, and
yeah.
that's something I'd never really thought about, and it made me think about times in my life where I have valued it's a real it could be a universal thing, but I think it's a really male thing. It's a real like dumb boy man thing where
Hmm.
you know to be loyal above else is this hugely valued thing, but what if that loyalty means you have to kind of go against your own values a little bit? So that was the major difference for me. The writing process was similar. I always before I sit down to write a book, I always plot it out and it's perfect and it's amazing and I have a twist in mind. And then I start writing and I realize everything I've planned is going to fall apart and I've just got to start killing darlings, and this was certainly that as well. So similarities in that, and but yeah, no, that was the major difference systematically, I think. And again, it's much more personal than I think I ever intended.
Yeah, right. Thank you for that answer. We've got Chad, I'm really apologetic. This is probably the heaviest responsive questions that we've ever had in here, which is really exciting and I love it. So please keep them coming. But I am trying to get through everyone's questions. We'll see how we go.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
trying to track them as well, but I just keep giving up and giving you the hard job.
yeah,
But I'm
well,
reading them. It's all amazing.
yeah. And look, if you ever find one that you read and you're just like, oh, I'd love to answer that, feel free, man. We're all
Yeah.
relaxed here.
And I should say, if I don't answer your question, if we don't get to it, just email me through my website. I'll take a million years to get back to you, but I'll get back to you eventually. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's nice. We've got questions from Patrice and Carmela. Just asking about the setting and whether or not it's based on something in your actual life. And specifically, Carmela's asking about the ledge itself. Is that a
Mm.
place that you've been to? Is it a true life place?
The ledge is it's a fictionalized version of a specific place, but I think a lot of places. So I always fictionalize my towns. I usually set them in a really specific place, but I like taking liberties and moving geographically moving things around. But there was a ledge. I didn't grow up in the bush, but I grew up by the beach, and I would. I'm not proud of this, but I would often wag school in year 12, take off at lunchtime, and my friends and I would go to this ledge that overlooked the sea, and we would hang out there. We would not do anything, not do anything. We just hang out there, right? And I think all small towns have these places where there's these places where teenagers know about, but adults don't. And it's a place where teenagers go to hold court, and
Hmm.
there's always broken bottles and
Yep.
an old homemade bong and some
Yeah.
condoms, some gross stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's sort of so it's not a real place, but I think it's a place that exists
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of everywhere.
Every small town has a place like that. I'd love to read a
So,
couple of these because I just love this. Helen has said, OMG, the twist so good and so unexpected. I love Victoria's comment here. I was on the run listening to the audiobook and she had to stop and then rewind multiple
oh, I
times.
love it. I love it.
Jan saying, we all went back to check that we did not miss any clues. I definitely did that. When that moment happened in the book, I just sort of sat there like,
Brilliant.
and then you go back and you're like, wait a minute. No. Um, and yeah, so Kevin's also said that the book was brilliant even without the twist. And I think going back to a question earlier from Dizzy about the idea of knowing the twist from the beginning, as far as I understand it, you actually set out with just the young boys growing up situation.
Yeah.
So surely you didn't have the twist in mind at that stage.
No, I had a different twist in mind. So I mean, it's a version of what's there, but yeah, it's a version of sorry, it's a version of what's in the teenager's story now. Um, but this one, this is another way actually this book was a little different, is that I said it was just going to be that 90s storyline. So obviously I had a completely different twist in mind. I had a different story in mind, and it wasn't until I started bringing in that present day story that suddenly it just actually the characters kind of showed me that
Mm.
maybe I'll talk more about that in spoilers as well, but and then yeah, I'm dancing around it a little bit, but yeah,
Oh, this is the last question before spoilers. So,
yeah, maybe let's get into it in spoilers because it's
all right.
I'm being too vague and it's going to
All right.
be frustrating.
Well, let's announce now because we're about half an hour into the chat. Let's announce now. We are going to take the what's a good metaphor? The lid off the box with a raccoon
Nice.
underneath. Yeah, I don't know. But we are going to
Close.
talk about spoilers. So please, we beg, do not stay, or yeah, I think for the rest of the chat tonight, we will be doing this. If you are a person who's going to leave, though, just let me know. You can go to my website or the Ben's Book Club Facebook group and actually message me if you've asked a question and wanted to know if you won the copy of the signed book as well. So don't feel like you're going to miss out if you do end up going.
And
Um,
maybe to give those people time to leave, Jody has a good question.
okay.
Did you ever give yourself nightmares with some of the darkness you write? I have horrific nightmares
Oh,
sometimes.
no.
And they're just the other day I had one where I sort of remember these situations where, and I just remembered that, oh, there's a severed head in a bag. It's always stuff like always versions of this where, and it's always, oh, my wife killed them. That's right. And I'd forgotten about it. And what am I going to do? And do I have to take the blame? But then I'll go to prison and my daughter will think I'm a kid. Really, really weird stuff. And even when I'm awake, I will often be sitting in a very well lit office in the middle of the day, looking. I might even have a smile on my face, just lost in thought. And my wife will come in and say, you want a coffee? And I'll sort of scream. I'll go, because I'm so deep in. So yes, I do.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good to know. All right, we will get into spoilers. Thank you, Trisha. She's probably gone by now, but appreciate you being here tonight. All right, let's start with Amy. How do you know what is enough of a twist and what is too much? Actually, let's start here because when I interviewed you at Brisbane Library, and I couldn't even say the main character's name.
I know it's so hard to talk about.
I had to keep saying the main protagonist.
Yeah.
The
I've never
main.
seen a protagonist so much in my life as I have on this publicity tour.
So, let's talk about. No, actually, before we get to Amy, sorry, Amy, I hope this is okay, but let's talk about that moment. Like, what was it like to craft that moment when he's talking? Let me just check my notes. I think it's to Benita, right?
Yeah, yep. He reveals that's when it's revealed. She calls him her brother
Brother
or
Aaron.
his name for the first time. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was it like to craft that moment? And what was it like to write the book up to there with avoiding him being called a name and just you must have had to dodge these landmines.
Yeah, if you read it again, you'll notice that Justin gets called Justin in the 90s timeline all the time. Everyone's always using his name because I thought as long as if the people using his name in that timeline, they're just naturally going to think. And then we've got characters like, like Steffi, his daughter, which is fine because she just calls him dad, and things like that. Where it was really tricky, the name thing was okay, but where it was really tricky was in scenes where there's a scene where the detective, Barbara Ekman, comes to his hotel room and they have a discussion about what happened. And I rewrote that scene so many times because it has to play both ways, So
Yes. Yeah.
they were the really tricky scenes. And that scene where it's revealed, the big reveal, I write I write as you read it generally. So I didn't jump ahead and write that scene. I just kept looking
Oh
forward.
man.
I kept looking forward to it. And it was one of the funnest it was a really fun scene to write. It was finally, and then you just think and actually I played with when to reveal it. So I didn't there's so many it kind of goes bang, 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 bang at the end. There's big reveals at the end of each chapter. So I really wanted to, I knew it was going to be a big one and I wanted to give it time. I wanted to give the other twists, a little bit of space to settle in. So it
Yeah.
was really about when to put it and then how much to have afterwards,
Yeah.
But I kind of got sad because I knew I was writing Justin's final chapter. I knew he was going to die, so I knew I was writing his final chapter, and it was really hopeful. It was sort of like he saw a way out of this mess, and he was really doing the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It made it
And
more harder. It was
it
harder
made
to
me,
read it.
yeah. And then and I even dialed that up. I think, he says something nice about his mom, and I really just dial it up to make it heartbreaking. It was breaking my own heart, but yeah, that was really, I mean, so fun. That final reveal when you're going to drop it. It's just the best scene to write. It's like,
I,
finally.
I bet that's so cool. Um, and am I right in saying that when you created the floppy disk diary, and in fact, there was a person who had a question about the diary a little
Hmm.
bit earlier on, but the way that
Yeah,
you frame that, like the floppy disk diary, right when Aaron finds it, but then it's instantly into Justin's point of view, it's like you smushed them together for me, and I just made that link so
yeah.
easily.
And that was what I was talking about earlier in the non-spoiler. That was one of those, it's a couple of lines right at the end of chapter one. That bridge was always really important because you had to think it's all in that scene, the bridge between one and two. It was all about making that scene. You just the assumption that okay, he's found this diary, it must be his. So I really, really messed with those last three lines over and over and over again. But originally, this is going to make me sound crazy. I would never have got away with this. But originally, because I'd written the kid story, and I went back, I'd completely rewrote the kid story when I introduced the adults. But it was just first person chapters. It wasn't a diary entry. And my publisher Martin said, but he dies in the end. And I was like, yeah. And he said, well, how was he writing? How is he writing? How is he telling this story? And I said, and first I said, how does anyone tell a story? We read a first person narrative and it's a different name on the top. We got through that. And then I said, I don't know, I guess he's a ghost. And Martin said, he cannot be a ghost. And then it was actually his idea to make it journal entries. And that was a huge thing for me because then I went back.
Wow, so it came from your editor, was that right?
That yeah, for my publisher. Yeah. And that was
Wow.
thank God, because then I went back and firstly it was a lot of fun suddenly writing in the voice of it's a different thing, a diary, you know. And so then it was this floppy then it was you know, is it a physical diary? You know, I didn't really want that. I wanted some of the old 90s tech,
Yeah,
because I'm nostalgic. And then
yeah.
then it was just about finding the right way. And I had Aaron draw an alien on the floppy disk. So at one stage you just say, "There's the alien I drew," and he says something like, "You know, I haven't read this for years," and then so you kind of it's just there. It's not lying, but it's just a little bit cheeky, and it's a
Sneaky,
where you
yeah.
just play you're just making the reader complicit in that moment where and then you just have to keep up that ruse.
Yeah. I I really enjoyed being tricked. Like I enjoyed the feeling of I felt like I'd done it to myself. Like I felt like now when I'm reading thrillers, I'm gonna have to have a bit more of a wary eye.
I
Um,
love it.
yeah. Let's go back because we've got some great questions. Um, Jody has an interesting question just about the audio narrator. We actually have a lot of people on the Libby app who actually read or
Mm.
yeah, read the books via audio,
Yeah.
but the narrator's obviously the same for both. Did you have to tell him not to change voices too much or something like that? Like, or did he just get it naturally?
Yeah, it was a tricky one. So I mean, I get tokenistic input. You know, they send me you know, the audio publishers are amazing and they know what they're doing, and I just let them go for it. But they do send me, you know, the auditions and stuff like that. But there was a bit of discussion where, hey, how the hell how the hell do we do that? And actually,
Yeah,
you know, I'm working on the book 5 at the minute, and I've got something that I've really don't know. I don't know how the hell they're going to do it in audio, but it'll be for them to work out.
yeah,
Yeah, no, it was I've not listened to I've listened to just a little bit of it, but I've not listened to I haven't got up to the teenage part. So I'm assuming maybe someone can tell me, is it the same, pretty much the same voice? I don't know. But yeah, it was just one of those things where you have to, I just let the professionals do their job.
yeah. Um, there was another note too that I wanted to highlight with Aaron's relationship with Hannah
Mm.
because there's a he's so smart. You kind of make me angry with how smart you do these things. There's that scene where he's revealing his big, deep, dark secret, and we're not entirely sure what the dark secret is, but we're still in the bag for him being Justin. So we think it can't be too bad. Like maybe
Yeah,
he's covering up that old one where he's just helped to hide a body, which is bad enough, right? So
yeah,
we're in the bag for that. And then Hannah reacted so repulsively.
yeah,
And I thought, that's good. Like, that's an actual reaction. Like, I kind of wanted her to go, oh, I forgive you. It was a long time ago. You were just a kid. And then I thought her reaction was almost over the top, but I get it. And I kind of like that she reacted that way. And then when I found out what he actually had revealed, it made me go back to that moment with how she'd reacted. I was like, oh, no wonder
yeah.
she did that.
And that was really the joy. It was such a joyful experience writing this book because knowing all along. So thinking every scene has to kind of work for both. And that's sort of such a limitation, but I love writing to limitations. I love these really strict rules to
Mm,
write within. And that was one of the things. So the way I presented it was, you know, I think the chapter, you know, so one chapter ends with him saying, you know, about to tell her. And then
yeah.
the next chapter, I think, is, yeah, him agreeing to dispose of the body. So I kind of, yeah,
You
wanted
sneak,
the reader to
man.
think,
That's
wow,
so sneaky of
that's
you.
something secret. Because at that point you didn't know, you didn't know it wasn't Devon. So, you know, it wasn't Devon's body that was found. You know, I wanted to think, okay, now they've got a body, they've got to dispose of it. And that's what's happened. That's whose remains I found, which of course it's not, it's Justin. Um, I should say too that one of the things, earlier I danced around this idea of, where the twist came from and coming from character. And it really came from, I started to think about, and I'd be interested to hear your thoughts about this as well, where
Yeah.
I started to think about why we write the sort of stuff we write, like why am I drawn to as a reader? I kind of understand it as a reader because I think I love reading this genre as a reader because in real life, the mysteries don't get solved all the time, So it's this nice way of if people get their comeuppance, mysteries get solved. Um,
Yeah.
you can kind of view danger from a safe distance, from the safety of
Yes.
your little reading chair. But as a writer, I started to think, what is wrong with us? Why do we love writing this stuff so much? And I used to do things like I would put back in the 90s, I had the VHS of Blair Witch Project, and I would put that on. I had a little bungalow at the back of my parents' yard, and I would put that on to go to bed with, to go to sleep with. And it was something really soothing about horror and this dark stuff. And I've never killed anyone, so it's still a bit of a mystery to me. But I started to think, um, what would have what would have blown up his marriage? Why would he write thrillers? And it was kind of this really neat way to suddenly I realized that's not Justin, but it could be Aaron, So that's where that and then that's where it's all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, I'm not going to tell anyone until the end. That's where it all came from.
Ah, so that was the real thing that really gave you that spark. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Um, Jay McDougall has a question here, and it was actually a question I had too, but you actually involve Scott, who is Justin's brother.
His brother. Yeah.
But in the adult timeline, you make it really feel justified that he doesn't have a relationship with his brother anymore, but it doesn't turn out to be his brother. Was that a hard thing to actually have Scott involved? And yeah, Jay McDougall is saying, I also was so frustrated that Justin did not just tell Scott. So that must have been hard to balance that.
Yeah, it was really hard. Yeah, it was really, really difficult. It was the Scott stuff and then the Faye stuff was tricky as well. So I was worried that, as soon as you find out, Scott turns up and punches him, and he had this really awful stuff to say to him at the mum's funeral and all of that sort of stuff. I kind of played that as these dramatic intrigue beats. So you think, oh, something's happened between them, and it's building toward that fracture but really the truth was that this guy thinks, hey, you killed my little brother, but I can't prove it. And the Faye stuff was tricky. So what someone said to me recently, they picked it. Two people have told me they've picked it. And this woman said it was the Faye relationship. It was the fact that uh, it was presented that Justin would have a relationship with Faye, who was the Jehovah's Witness, who was Aaron's girlfriend. And to me, that wasn't a big deal because I thought, oh, I could see it. I could see hooking up. I could kind of see it happening. But I did worry that, oh, is that going to tip people's? Is that going to be too much of a clue? And for this woman, it was. But that's the beauty of it. You sort of. I always start off being kind of bare bones about the clues, and then I go back and layer in as many clues as I can. I started to put in things about their appearance and just extra clue. You kind of want to load it up to give those people a chance. So it's so when people pick the twist, I hate it, but it's my own fault because I gave them enough clues to get there.
Yeah, but two out of however many people have read it is a pretty good
You know,
bench.
the other one who got it. I'll try to find the text. It was JP Pomaro.
Oh, of course
He
he did.
was he was live texting me
As he was reading.
as he was reading it, and he gave me maybe 12 options. He was, every other page, he'd be like, "This is, yeah, I'll read." Oh, there's a
Yeah,
button.
go. No, I
Let
love
me
this.
let me find one
Yeah,
of
you're right.
them. One of them is
Just as a reminder for you as well, while you find that, we are coming up to nearing the end of our chat, so we're going to have to narrow down a winner soonish for our
oh yeah.
questions, just to be aware. Yes, because there's a lot of really good ones.
This is going to take me too long to find, but it was great. He sent me 12. He sent me 12, great twists. all of
Yeah.
them would have worked, and all of them would have been brilliant. And the 12th one was the right one. But it was as he was getting close, and I would send back things like, "You have such an interesting mind." Things where I didn't want to actually, didn't want to tip my hat one way
You
or
string him along a little bit.
the
That's funny. Um, yeah, so we've got sorry, I'm just going through the chat again.
Yeah,
Actually, a question that I had, it's actually, I don't know whether it's in the chat, but I actually am really interested in that final moment where you actually killed Justin. Aaron killed Justin, and the person who we've been sympathizing with and living with for the entire book, you turn him into ostensibly an almost unforgivable person. Like that is horrible what he did. And
yeah,
it made the rest of me, when I was sympathizing with this character, I was like, oh no, I kind of liked him. That
yeah.
moment is kind of shocking, honestly. Like it was a pretty dark way to end it. And it's very tragic, like you alluded to a little earlier. But can you just talk about crafting that particular moment and yeah, I guess writing that moment, knowing that you were going to
Yeah.
play with our
It,
sympathies, right?
it was really tough because I loved that character and I knew he was going to die. I also knew that had to come pretty late because you're rooting for this, who you learn is Aaron, but who you think is this
Is Justin, yeah.
modern day Justin. You're rooting for him. You want his, well, hopefully you kind of sympathize with his wife, but you want him to get back. He's got a daughter.
Yes. Yep.
So I knew when it happened that that's hard to come back from,
It
right? That's
is,
very
yeah.
hard to come back from. And then ultimately he does the right thing. He finally turns himself in, but that's a small step in the right direction. Um, so I wrote that scene. There were two things. So originally that scene was much longer, where he actually stabs him and he goes over the edge, and a bit more detailed and a bit darker. And it was just too much. So I
Yeah.
pared it back a lot. And so that version is actually a much lighter version. Just because I just loved him. And I think that you can get the point across without going that far. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I don't want to ever be gratuitous or
No, I get you, yeah.
very little gore and blood in my stuff because I use it quite sparingly. And the other thing I did originally, there was this kind of weird prologue, which may have got cut anyway because it was so weird, but it was this all in italics. It started with this in this still kind of like a there's some weird view of the forest floor, and it started with a body falling through, and it landed there, and it took you through the first 10 years of what happened to that body as it as
That's
the
interesting.
birds came, and as it, yeah, I still got it somewhere, and as it disintegrated, what happened to the clothes, what happened to the
Wow.
pieces. And it was cool, but I thought it it's hard for me then to know. I didn't really want to know in such detail that's what happened to Justin's body. Even I have a weird thing where, I'll be giving my daughter, she's 7, and I'll be giving her a little head massage on the couch, right? And I'll feel her skull, and I hate it because it reminds me of that we parts. And for me,
Yeah, that's yeah.
it was that thing I didn't want to. I wanted you to feel heartbroken when he died, but you didn't need that. That felt like over the line as well. I kind of yeah, I don't I pulled back
That's really interesting. So
believe it or
you
not.
could have, yeah, you could have gone into more tragedy, in hindsight, thinking about his remains sadly rotting and being by himself, but you pulled back from that to sort of let his life sort of take a bit of a flight instead. That's a really you must draft a lot. That's a lot of feeling. Like you must go over it and go, I have to feel this is right for the moment. It must be easy to get things wrong too, right?
Well, yeah, I get so much wrong. So much of what writing is rewriting, right? So much
Hmm.
of what I do is rewrite and rewrite and rewrite and cut loads and loads of things. And I think about that stuff, that body rotting in the woods. I think I kind of want, if you take it out, it's easier to digest in one sense, but also it also kind of, this makes me sound sadistic, but it also gives that scene to the reader to write in their own head as when they put the book away. You know what I mean? I like
Yes.
the
No,
idea
I
of
get
leaving
you.
with something, and so it's still there. It's said without being said, I guess. So
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I cut so much. I cut so much stuff, and I'm very good at killing my darlings. I'll kill them because of it affects the mood, or it affects the. Sometimes there's too much. I like a lot of white space on the page, so they
Yep.
keep. So sometimes I'll cut stuff just because it's too dense. I'm pretty
Wow.
real. Yeah,
Yeah, okay, that's awesome. That's kind of the Jaws effect, right? You know, you don't show the shark,
like,
but
yeah,
people fill it in, or the blood in Psycho.
exactly.
We are rounding up towards the end of our time with Christian tonight. I want to just thank everybody in the audience tonight. As always, Ben's Book Club audience is the best audience in the whole world. So appreciate all your thoughts and questions, and just the avid readers that we've got here. It's really, really, just as an author myself, but I'm sure for Christian too, it's really warming, yeah, to see responses, right?
It's incredible the amount of questions coming through, and I feel bad. I wish we could get to them
Yeah,
all. It's gone so
yeah.
fast. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. It's yep. As it was a popular book, man. Like everyone's really enjoyed reading it. So
Got a good
um
response, and thank God, right?
yeah. Yeah, yep. And you know, we don't I'd have never put a provision on that either in the club. We're always just responding naturally, but this one has everyone just really, really liked it. Um uh, did you see what Jane McDougall wrote there?
No, let me
Can you read
check.
that?
Wondered why I could not. Jamie did it. I wondered why I could not warm to the adult Justin, but I really love the young Justin. It made so much sense when I got to the end. Perfect, perfect.
I love it. So we'll give you some time now to go back through the chat.
Actually,
And
what the hell? I can't. How can I choose? They're all
yeah,
so.
I'm sorry. You're just gonna have to narrow it down,
Hey,
mate. This is a
talk
bit of a
talk amongst
task.
yourselves. Talk amongst yourselves for a full minute, and I will
All
decide it.
right. Well, while Christian is going through the chat, and we'll announce the winner at the end here. Next month, for those of you who are regular members, first of all, let me see if I can pull up the Ben's Book Club Facebook group link, and I can send that to everybody. Um, so we do have a Facebook group, and I'll announce winners and things like that on there as well. And I post links to next month's chat and all that sort of stuff. So if you are new to the group and you're here just for Christian, we read some really good books together. So you should be able to see that now in the chat. But if you want to go sign up there, yeah, we'll announce the winner to like make a post on there so everyone can see who won. But we are going to be interviewing Dave Warner next month for his new book. I normally have the book here to show you, but I'm sorry I forgot to bring it in with me. But it's a really cool looking book. It's the latest in a series, so I haven't read the other ones yet. But Dave Warner is really interesting. He's actually a pretty renowned musician. He's a screenwriter, a novelist. So he's going to be really cool. So Dave Warner next month. But Christian, have we got our final thought?
Yeah, yes, I do. So they're all amazing questions. I do have one um, that I think you can send, but then I'm going to ask you if it's okay. I'm going to choose another one, just another
Yep.
person that's been very active, and I will personally send them a signed one as well. But
Oh,
you'll have
whoa, that's
to
lovely,
figure
mate.
out
Thank
the
you.
we'll have to figure out the address and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. I can email you stuff later.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be great. This is a great question we didn't get to. It's just a question I've never got. It's from Kevin Brown, and he asked,
Okay.
"Did you start the writing with an idea of exploring the moral ripples through time?" And
Oof.
what a cool, heavy question that I've never got, and sort of yes and no. Like I learned just quickly. I know we're running out of time.
No, you're right. We can take a bit of time.
The With the Nowhere Child, my first book, it was a past and present story, and I really liked showing where they were at one point in their life, and then showing them where they are in another point, and letting the reader figure
Hmm.
out that thing. And I always did think about that as I always pictured ripples, a still pond and then a stone
Oh,
going.
wow. Yep.
So Kevin Brown, that's a great question.
All right, Kevin Brown, well done, mate. We
There is
will
there was someone
make
hilarious. I've lost
contact
it.
somehow.
Someone was worried that someone thought that Benita, when they got the twist, this was hilarious. This should get an honorable mention. Someone thought Benita was stoned, that all my editor had screwed up, which is great. But I want to, if possible, if it's not too annoying,
Oh.
Gemma, you have been so active and lovely, and I think it was you that said that I had, here, let me find it. She said you have stocks shares in the sale of Panadol and Nurofen because that twist gate deals with. So
Funny.
if you can organize somehow,
Yep.
you sort that out. Let me know her address, and I will.
Who was, sorry, who was it again so I can write it down?
It was a Gemma.
Gemma. Oh, Gemma, of course.
She was first on too. But
Of course, Gemma's a
honestly,
regular, so that's
I
awesome.
wish I could. I wish I could give it to everyone because you're also wonderful. What a cool thing this is.
It's
I
fun,
love it.
right? It's the best. I like, as an author, this is genuinely one of the funnest things to do, I think.
Honestly, talking spoilers is a joy. I feel like I'm going to sleep really well. I feel like I've been wanting to do this for a while.
Yeah, we finally got it done.
Yeah.
Um, and can we know anything about your next novel? Because there's a bunch of people here who said that you've got some lifelong readers now. So what's your next one? Can you pitch it to us a little bit?
I have I'm going to give you a super, super soft pitch, but really it's about if the Ledger was a coming of age thriller, this one is a thriller, a sort of a young family thriller. And that sounds super vague, and I'm so sorry.
I like it.
I'll get better at pitching it. I still kind of figuring out what it is, but I do have the twist in mind that if I can pull it off, will be beautiful. But we'll see. We'll see how we
Yeah,
go. It's a
yeah, yeah.
challenge, it's a really challenging one. This one.
Okay. Oh man, I know you'll pull it off. I'm really looking forward to it. Everybody is already doing this in the chat, but can we thank Christian very much? For Kevin Brown and Gemma, can you guys just make contact with me somehow? You can either go to the Facebook group and just send me a message that way, or you can go to, and I'll type it here, www.benhobson.net. But there's a contact form on my website. So if you click that and contact me, I'll get an email. I don't want to just exchange your address on a chat so everyone can see it. So
Why
Kevin
not?
Brown and Gemma, can you guys just make contact somehow, please? And we'll make sure we send some copies your way. But yeah, thanks, Christian. Round of
Thank you so
applause.
much. Thank you so. This is amazing. Thank you. Ben, you've got the hard job, and everyone in the chat. It's amazing. I loved it. Please have me back for. I'll hurry up and write the next book so I can come back.
Yes, this is what we like. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think you're a new favorite of ours, mate. So it's
I
genuinely been
love
one of
it.
the funnest ones we've done. So thank you very much.
Love it.
Thank you, everyone who's been in attendance. Stay tuned for Dave Warner for next month and sign up on the Facebook group as well. Keep reading your books on Libby as well and supporting our libraries. But yeah, thanks, Christian. And yeah, see you guys next time.
Amazing. See you, everyone.
Bye.